Ever wondered about the history of one of Africa's smallest countries, Tome and Principe? Nestled off the western equatorial coast of Central Africa, this tiny twin island nation holds a wealth of stories waiting to be told. From its early discovery to its dark days of sugar and slavery, to the vibrant independent nation it is today, Tome and Principe's history is as rich as its lush, biodiverse rainforests. Join us as we journey through time, exploring the fascinating history of Tome and Principe. The uninhabited islands of Tome and Principe were discovered by Portuguese explorers in the late 15th century. Nestled in the Gulf of Guinea, off the western equatorial coast of Central Africa, these islands, untouched and unspoiled, beckoned to the Portuguese with their lush vegetation and rich potential for cultivation. In the early 16th century, the Portuguese, lured by the promise of wealth, began to settle these islands. The first settlers were a mix of convicts, Jewish children forcibly converted to Christianity, and orphaned children from the mainland, known as orphans of the kingdom. These settlers laid the foundation of what would become the first successful tropical colony in the world. The fertile volcanic soil of Tome and Principe proved ideal for sugar cultivation. By the mid-16th century, the islands had become a significant exporter of sugar. But this booming sugar industry came with a dark side. The labor-intensive nature of sugar cultivation necessitated a large workforce, leading to the importation of enslaved Africans. These enslaved Africans were brought from various regions across the African continent, forced to work under brutal conditions on the sugar plantations. The burgeoning sugar plantations, known as rockers, stretched across the islands, transforming the landscape and the lives of its inhabitants forever. This period marked the beginning of a grim era of slavery on the islands, an era that would last for centuries. The establishment of sugar plantations and the importation of enslaved Africans significantly shaped the demographic, social, and cultural landscape of Tome and Principe. It led to the formation of a unique Creole culture, a blend of African and Portuguese influences, which continues to define the identity of Tome and Principe today. This marked the beginning of a long and complex history of Portuguese colonial rule in Tome and Principe. The 16th and 17th centuries were defined by the booming sugar industry and the brutal system of slavery. Sugarcane, a crop whose cultivation required a significant amount of manual labor, became the backbone of Tome and Principe's economy. However, the prosperity brought about by the sugar trade came at a high human cost. Thousands of African slaves were forcibly brought to the islands to work the sugar plantations in conditions of extreme hardship. As the centuries rolled on, the sugar industry began to decline. The island's sugar was outcompeted by that of the New World, where the lands were more expansive and the labor cheaper. In response to the dwindling sugar profits, plantation owners in Tome and Principe turned to a new cash crop, cocoa. Introduced in the 19th century, cocoa quickly became a major source of income for the islands. Coffee was also introduced around this time, adding another layer to the island's agricultural economy. Yet, even as the economy evolved, the cruel system of slavery persisted. African slaves continued to toil on the plantations, their lives consumed by backbreaking labor under the relentless tropical sun. The abolition of slavery in the 19th century did little to improve their conditions. While no longer technically slaves, these laborers were trapped in a system of servitude that was slavery in all but name. They were tied to the plantations or rockers by contracts that offered them little more than subsistence wages. Despite the abolition of slavery in the 19th century, the harsh conditions on the plantations, known as rockers, continued for many years. The legacy of this era is still visible today in the grand plantation houses that dot the islands and the Afro-Portuguese culture that is an integral part of Tome and Principe's identity. As we move forward in our story, we'll see how the people of Tome and Principe began to challenge the injustices they faced, paving the way for the independence movement of the 20th century. The 20th century brought winds of change to Tome and Principe with the rise of the independence movement. As the world around them shifted, so too did the islands, with the stirrings of a movement that yearned for freedom from colonial rule. A key player in this struggle surfaced in the form of the Movement for the Liberation of Tome and Principe, or MLSTP, a group that would play a pivotal role in the island's journey towards independence. The MLSTP was formed in the early 1960s at a time when many African nations were beginning to break free from their colonial shackles. Determined to bring about a similar change in São Tomé and Príncipe, the MLSTP began its fight against Portuguese rule. It was a struggle that was not without its challenges, but the MLSTP and the people of São Tomé and Príncipe were undeterred. As the years passed, the movement continued to gain momentum, fueled by the steadfast determination of the MLSTP and the people. Protests and strikes swept across the islands, disrupting the plantation economy and putting increasing pressure on the Portuguese authorities. The world was watching, and the winds of change were blowing stronger than ever. In the mid-70s, the fight for independence reached its climax. The international community, witnessing the unrest and the determination of the people, began to rally behind the cause. Portugal, under increasing pressure, finally began negotiations for the transfer of sovereignty. And so it was in the year 1975 that the islands of São Tomé and Príncipe finally attained their long-sought freedom. Independence was officially declared on July 12th, a day that is now celebrated annually as the island's National Day. The MLSTP, the group that had led the fight for independence, took the helm of the newly independent nation, steering it into a new era. Independence marked a new chapter in the history of São Tomé and Príncipe. The struggle had been long and arduous, but the islands emerged victorious, forever leaving behind their colonial past and embracing a future of freedom and self-determination. In the years following independence, São Tomé and Príncipe has faced numerous challenges but also significant progress. The transition from a single-party socialist state to a multi-party democratic system in the early 90s marked a turning point in the nation's history. This shift ushered in a new era of political freedom, paving the way for the flourishing of vibrant democratic institutions. Despite being one of Africa's smallest countries, São Tomé and Príncipe has made considerable strides in its economic development. While the economy initially relied heavily on cocoa production, the government has embarked on diversification strategies to stimulate growth and reduce dependence on a single commodity. Today, sectors such as tourism, fisheries and agriculture play a vital role in the nation's economy. São Tomé and Príncipe's transition has been far from smooth, with the nation grappling with issues such as poverty, unemployment, and infrastructural deficits. However, the government's focus on education and health has led to significant improvements. The literacy rate has seen a steady increase, and the country boasts one of the highest school enrollment rates in Africa. Similarly, strides have been made in the health sector, with improved access to healthcare services contributing to increased life expectancy. The country's rich cultural heritage, a fusion of African and Portuguese influences, continues to thrive. Traditional music and dance forms, such as Dexa and Bulawe, remain integral to cultural celebrations. The annual São João Festival, a vibrant blend of music, dance, and street parades, is a testament to the nation's cultural vitality. The island's breathtaking natural beauty, complete with pristine beaches, lush rainforests, and a diverse array of endemic wildlife, has made São Tomé and Príncipe an emerging destination for ecotourism. Efforts are underway to promote sustainable tourism practices that protect the island's unique biodiversity, while also providing economic opportunities for local communities. Today, São Tomé and Príncipe, with its vibrant culture and natural beauty, stands as a testament to its resilient and rich history. This small island nation, despite its challenges, continues to captivate with its unique blend of history, culture, and nature. From discovery and colonization to independence and beyond, São Tomé and Príncipe's history is indeed fascinating. We have journeyed through centuries of transformation, starting with the island's discovery and early settlement by the Portuguese in the late 15th century. These once uninhabited islands soon burgeoned into a thriving colony, thanks to the sugar trade, but this prosperity was deeply intertwined with the dark chapters of slavery. As we moved further along the timeline, we delved into the era of sugar and slavery. The island's fertile soils made them a prime location for sugar plantations, leading to a massive influx of enslaved Africans. This period indelibly shaped the cultural and demographic landscape of São Tomé and Príncipe. We then turned to the stirring narratives of resistance and liberation, highlighting the independence movement that emerged in the 20th century. Against the backdrop of global decolonization, the people of São Tomé and Príncipe stood up against their colonial masters, achieving their long-desired freedom in 1975. Finally, we explored modern-day São Tomé and Príncipe. Today, the islands are a vibrant blend of cultures and traditions, a testament to their complex past. They are also a burgeoning ecotourism hotspot, boasting biodiverse rainforests, idyllic beaches, and a commitment to sustainable practices. Thank you for joining us on this historical journey. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.